Welcome back to Dalsan. My name is Abdulrazak Ali. 22 million Somalis living in Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia are at risk of drought.
From southern Ethiopia to northern Kenya and Somalia, around 22 million people are at risk of hunger as the worst drought in 4 decades grips the Horn of Africa. In the afflicted areas, inhabitants who eke out a living mainly from herding and subsistence farming are experiencing their 5th consecutive poor rainy season since the end of 2020. The United Nations says 12 million people in Ethiopia, 5.6 million in Somalia, and 4.3 million in Kenya are acutely food insecure. The overall figure has almost doubled from 13 million at the start of 2022, the United Nations World Food Programme said in a January report. The United Nations says 12 million people in Ethiopia, 5.6 million in Somalia, and 4.3 million in Kenya are acutely food insecure. The overall figure has almost doubled from 13 million at the start of 2022. The overall figure has almost doubled from 13 million at the start of 2022, the UN's World Food Programme said in a January report. Across the region, 1.7 million people have been driven from their homes by a lack of water and pasture. The Horn of Africa is one of the regions most vulnerable to climate change, and extreme weather events are occurring with increased frequency and intensity. Since 2016, 8 of the 13 rainy seasons have seen below average rainfall, according to data from the US-based Climate Hazard Center. The last famine was declared in Somalia in 2011, when 260,000 people, half of them children under the age of 6, died of hunger, partly because the international community did not act fast enough, according to the UN. At that time, the region had encountered 2 poor rainy seasons, compared to 5 in the current drought. Crops already ravaged by a locust invasion between 2019 and 2021 have been wiped out, and livestock has suffered a similar fate. The UN's humanitarian agency OCHA estimated in November that 9.5 million cattle had perished. Humanitarian groups warn that the situation is only likely to worsen, with the next rainy season from March to May also expected to be below average.
Now, defense ministers and army commanders of Kenya, Ethiopia and Djibouti met in Mogadishu on Tuesday afternoon ahead of the summit for heads of the state from frontline countries. Abdurrahman Yusuf has more.
Somalia Information Minister Dawood Awais Jama addressed journalists on the frontline state defense ministers meeting starting on Wednesday.
It's another crucial day for Somalia. The country is hosting the ministers of defenses of the frontline states, which I mean the neighboring countries of Kenya, Ethiopia and Djibouti. Somalia is hosting that meeting, and it's also bringing together the chief of defense forces from these frontline states. It's very crucial because the security of the region now is being discussed at large with the attendance of a high-level delegation from these frontline states. And the issue is to debate and to have a common position about what's happening in Somalia, which is the operations against the Kharijist Al-Shabaab. As you know, the Somali government have been fighting alongside with the people, the local people in different regions to defeat the terrorist groups in Somalia, and there was a lot of progress. Because of that progress, Somalia has acknowledged and realized that there is a need to bring on board the countries who are neighboring Somalia, like Kenya, Djibouti and Ethiopia, who have also sacrificed their lives to save Somalia and to support Somalia in its quest to make sure that there is a stability in Somalia. The reason why this meeting is taking place in Mogadishu is that there is a progress, and the Somali government is now pushing towards making sure that the country is completely free of the terrorists. And after that, this is paving the way for Somalia and the region to focus on national agendas like development, political issues, and economical cooperation. Without security, it will be very difficult for the region to have such kind of focusing issues like the social affairs. So this is a very crucial meeting, and as I said earlier, after the meeting of the ministers of defenses and the chief defense forces, there will be a summit whereby the leaders of these 4 countries are going to discuss and adopt a communique that will serve the interests of this region. Tomorrow is when the summit is going to take place. It will be led by President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud of Somalia, and with the attendance of the presidents of Kenya, the president of Djibouti, and the prime minister of Ethiopia. So this is going to be a very historic day historic moment for Somalia, historic moment for the region, and also contributing to the stability of this region, not only for this region, but for the global war against the terrorism and courageous groups.
He said the meeting will discuss the ongoing largely successful military operation against the Al-Shabaab conducted by the Somalia National Army and the famous Ma'awisley tribal militia. He added that the ministers and army chief will prepare agendas for the head of state summit on Wednesday. Which is expected to focus on the fight against Al-Shabaab. The meeting comes amid Somalia is in the process of joining East Africa Community.
Now, Somali National Army have arrested traditional elders for cooperating with Al-Shabaab fighters in Beledweyne town of Hiran region. According to the military, the traditional elders signed an agreement with the militant group.
According to the military, the traditional elders signed an agreement with the militant group. The number of these arrested elders is said to be 6 people, who are said to have broken the order of the Somali government to not deal with the Al-Shabaab group, which the federal government is fighting against. These elders who were arrested for dealing with the Al-Shabaab organization recently went to areas in West Beledweyne. These elders who were arrested for dealing with the Al-Shabaab organization recently went to areas in West Beledweyne that are controlled by the Shabaab, where the elders entered into agreements to withdraw their community forces from fighting against the Al-Shabaab. The armed forces have conducted a planned operation against these elders in villages under Halgan district in the region of Hiran. It was recently when the Somali armed forces, quote, sentenced Al-Shabaab elders to a 5-year prison sentence in Haradera district of Mudug region. This comes barely a week after the military court sentenced 5 elders to 5 years in prison after reaching a deal with Al-Shabaab in the Haradera district last year.
A high-level delegation from the African Union Transition Mission, that is ATMIS, led by Acting Force Commander Brigadier General Peter Omola, has visited Balad Forward Operating Base to assess what will be needed to elevate it into a battalion. Somalia has made progress in fighting Al-Shabaab, and the government's effort against the terror group will continue if they destroy it, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield said. Thomas-Greenfield noted that the United States is cooperating with various organizations in Somalia and in the region to confront the terrorist group. Al-Shabaab is a Somalia-based extremist Islamist organization with links to the Al-Qaeda terror group. Al-Shabaab has led an insurgency against the Somalian government and staged numerous attacks in an effort to impose Sharia law in the country. The FOB, located in Hirshabelle State, is now logistics base for the Burundi contingent, who exited and handed over Maslah to the federal government of Somalia on January 21, 2023.
A high-level delegation from the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, led by Acting Force Commander Brigadier General Peter Omola, has visited Balad Forward Operating Base to assess what will be needed to elevate it into a battalion logistics base. The FOB, located in the Hirshabelle estate, is now the logistics base for the Burundi contingent who exited and handed over Maslah FOB to the federal government of Somalia on January 22, 2023. When fully completed, the Balad FOB will serve both ATMIS Burundi forces and the Somali National Army in the Hirshabelle state. The delegation visited the FOB early last week and was received by the ATMIS Sector 5 Commander Brigadier Jean-Claude Niuburana. They also held discussions with community elders led by the Balad District Commissioner Qasim Ali Noor and the Ogas Mohammed Hussein. The acting force commander thanked the Burundian forces stationed in Balad for strengthening the security of the FOB since their relocation from Maslah on January 15, 2023. The acting force commander thanked the Burundian forces stationed in Balad for strengthening the security of the FOB since their relocation from Maslah on January 15, 2023. He assured the soldiers that the conditions of the FOB would be improved to enable them to operate effectively. The Balad District Commissioner, Qasim Ali Noor, welcomed the team and spoke about several issues, including the ongoing fight against Al-Shabaab militants. The Ogas for Balad, Mohammed Hussein, thanked ATMIS for choosing the district as one of its key logistical hubs and pledged their commitment to work closely with the forces to improve security in the region. Located approximately 39 kilometers north of Mogadishu along the main Mogadishu-Johar road, Balad is a strategic town noted for agriculture, livestock and marine resources.
That's all we have for you on Dalsan TV, Somalia's premier TV station. My name is Abdulrazak Ali, and have a lovely night.